Timothy James, a black prosecutor, was arrested just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It wasn't just prejudice. It was hate, the kind he had faced his whole life. But when the truth came out, the system was forced to face its own collapse. His response? It'll shock even the toughest. But let's start from the beginning. Timothy James, a 40-year-old black man, stands on a busy city street, his sharp blue suit and neatly tied tie reflecting his status as a successful state prosecutor. He's checking his phone, lost in the rhythm of his day, when a police patrol car suddenly pulls up beside him. The car screeches to a halt, and Officer Jacob Miller, a 28-year-old white cop with fiery red hair and a hardened expression, steps out. His eyes scan Timothy suspiciously, his lips curling into a sneer. "You've been standing here too long. What's a black man like you doing on the street at this hour?" Miller's voice drips with disdain. Timothy, his calm exterior unwavering, tries to explain. "I'm just checking my phone, officer," he says, keeping his voice steady. But Miller isn't listening. Instead, he steps forward aggressively, pulling out handcuffs. "Loitering and disturbing the peace," Miller declares, his tone dismissive. Timothy's stomach sinks. It's clear this isn't just about a supposed violation. This is racial profiling, pure and simple. The officer doesn't see Timothy as a man, a professional, or an individual. To Miller, he's just another black man to be harassed. As the officer clamps the handcuffs around his wrists, Timothy's heart pounds in his chest. His mind races, but his body stays still. He doesn't shout or resist. He's learned over the years that the best way to survive moments like this is to remain composed. But deep down, he knows this time feels different. It's not just about the injustice he's facing. It's about something bigger. This moment might be the turning point he's been waiting for, the chance to finally fight back against the system that has wronged him and so many others. The next morning, Timothy sits in a cramped holding cell at the police station, the sterile white walls closing in on him. He can feel the weight of the system pressing down, suffocating him. He's been through enough to know how this works. His arrest is more than just a mistake. It's a calculated move to send a message. He's black, a prominent figure in the legal system, and that makes him a target. His lawyer tells him to stay calm, to let the media stir the pot. "It'll all blow over soon," he reassures. But Timothy knows better. This isn't just about him. It's about something much larger. At court later that afternoon, the tension in the air is thick with anticipation. The prosecutor's office is a well-oiled machine, and now Timothy is forced to sit on the opposite side of it. Officer Miller and his fellow officers are relentless, accusing him of causing a public disturbance despite the complete lack of evidence. Their voices are loud, assertive, trying to paint him as the criminal in front of the judge. Timothy, though nervous, steels himself. His heart beats fast, but he's no longer just a man accused. He's fighting for justice. He knows what's at stake: his reputation, his career, and the message this sends to others like him. Then, the unexpected happens. The judge calls for the defense. The room grows silent, and Timothy's name echoes across the courtroom. There's a beat of confusion. Officer Miller's eyes widen as he slowly turns his gaze toward the defense table. His face falters as realization dawns. You're the prosecutor?" Miller stammers, his voice barely above a whisper. Timothy doesn't flinch. His calm, composed demeanor contrasts sharply with the officer's shock. Gasps ripple through the courtroom as Miller's face goes pale. He's just arrested one of the most powerful figures in the state's legal system, and now the truth is out. The damage has been done, and there's no turning back. Timothy's story spreads like wildfire across social media the moment a bystander posts a video of his arrest. The footage goes viral, showing him calmly being handcuffed by Officer Miller, despite the obvious lack of cause. What initially seemed like an isolated incident quickly snowballs into a full-blown media frenzy. Timothy, once just another black man caught in the web of police bias, becomes the symbol of a much larger issue: systemic racism in law enforcement. News outlets everywhere pick up the story, and social media explodes with support. Hashtags like #JusticeForTimothy and #EndRacial Profiling trend worldwide, as people from all walks of life voice their anger and disbelief. The shock isn't just over the arrest itself. It's the revelation that a state prosecutor, a man who has spent his career fighting for justice, has become the victim of the very system he dedicated his life to reforming. The public outrage intensifies as more footage emerges, showing Officer Miller's history of racial discrimination in previous incidents. With every new report, the calls for Miller's resignation grow louder. People are no longer just focused on Timothy's case. They're demanding accountability for every instance of abuse, every broken system. Timothy, now thrust into the center of a nationwide conversation, begins to grasp the true scale of what's happening. This isn't just about his own fight for justice anymore. It's about all the people who have been unfairly targeted, marginalized, or oppressed by a system that's supposed to protect them. He's now the face of something far greater. In court, Timothy's lawyer files a motion to have the case thrown out, citing racial bias and procedural misconduct. The judge agrees to suspend Officer Miller's involvement, but Timothy knows this is only the beginning. The real battle is just getting started, and the stakes couldn't be higher. As the trial unfolds, pressure on Officer Miller intensifies. His past actions, previously overlooked, are now under intense scrutiny. Investigations reveal a disturbing pattern of racial bias, with multiple complaints about his conduct on the job. The evidence of his repeated discriminatory behavior becomes undeniable, and soon, public opinion turns firmly against him. Social media and news outlets demand justice, and the weight of the public outcry forces the department to take action. Miller is fired, and a formal investigation is launched into his actions. Amid the chaos surrounding Miller's downfall, the true victory belongs to Timothy. His story, once a tragic incident of racial profiling, has become a beacon of hope. He emerges not just as a victim, but as a hero. His courage in standing up against the corrupt system inspires countless others to speak out against police brutality and racial injustice. While his legal expertise was already well respected, it's his bravery in challenging the very institution he served that solidifies his place as a symbol of change. As the trial concludes, Timothy feels a profound sense of closure. The tension of the past weeks lifts, but there's no elation, just a quiet, firm resolve. Officer Miller, once confident in his power, is now on the outside looking in. The man he tried to oppress has brought him down, and Miller's face is a mixture of regret and disbelief. Timothy doesn't harbor hatred. There's no vindictiveness in his heart, only the satisfaction of knowing that his actions will contribute to a larger movement. In the courtroom, as the judge delivers the final ruling, Miller's regret is evident, but Timothy's expression remains steady, unwavering. He has won, not just the case, but the fight for justice and equality. With his head held high, Timothy walks out of the courtroom, the weight of the moment heavy but resolute. The fight for a better, fairer world is far from over, but this victory is a crucial step forward.